right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of A-Town Rundown. Right now, it is Tuesday, April the 14th, 2026, and as we are talking to you, the Hawks have officially clinched a playoff spot. They have their first playoff game against the Knicks on Saturday, the 18th in Madison Square Garden. The Hawks ended in the 6th seed. They ended 46-36, almost 500. That's perfect. So let's talk about this moving into this. We had talked previously about who we wanted to see, what matchup we wanted between the Cavaliers and the Knicks. It looks like you and I both got what we wanted. So now we have to factor in, it seems like the rest of the world, and I don't just mean the rest of the country, the rest of the world, basketball fans internationally are not taking this matchup very seriously. It seems like everybody's calling that the Knicks are going to win. It seems like everybody wants the Knicks to win. Knicks fans have been at an all-time annoyance for me lately. I'm sure you can speak on this as well because I've seen you get into arguments on, X with some Knicks fans, letting them say their piece just so that we can have ours. What do you think about this? What are you excited to see about this matchup? And once again, I kind of beg the question, why is the media always against Atlanta? Why are we always the underdog? Why do you think people want to see the Knicks win so badly? Everybody who doesn't live in the state of Georgia is pulling for the Knicks, and that really irritates me.
Yeah, man. It's really like the Knicks fan base is so big, and people who don't live in New York, like follow New York teams. I think the media really wants that. You're selling more advertisers if the Knicks are in the conference finals. And,
does it have to do with the Knicks
more
or just
people
like a legacy team? They've just been around so long. It's kind of like a
but they haven't been in the finals, and
they
God
haven't been in
knows
the finals in a very long time.
So which we could say the same thing about the Hawks, but it's like
they
act like.
So.
That's right. Not the Atlanta Hawks. That's for sure. Yeah. Don't forget about our St. Louis Hawks.
St. Louis Hawks. What was it?
Don't forget about our championship back in the 1800s. Yeah. Okay. But nah, for real. The whole media is writing us off, and they're not really saying like. I'm not hearing a lot of like real media saying like the Knicks are going to sweep or the Knicks are going to win in 5, but every single one of the ESPN analysts picked the Knicks. Yeah. In either 6 or 7 games. And I think one of them picked 5. To me, that's just how I like it, because this is exactly how it was when we played them in 2021, man. Like nobody thought that we were going to come in there and do what we did. And look, some of that is warranted because we have such a young team. The only guys that we have on this team that are really going in with playoff experience is like CJ, Onyeka.
Bradley.
I mean, Jalen was Bradley. Yeah, that's right. He was on that finals run.
Kuminga's got some.
Kuminga, he's got a ring. And Nikhil. So like everybody else, like Dyson hasn't been in the playoffs.
It's not like the guys that we just mentioned were the ones like leading the fight. They just happen to be on the team.
No, but I mean, CJ had a prominent role.
He does, and he's got a prominent role here.
A lot.
He's got a prominent role here right
exactly.
now. So.
Right. So we are bringing some playoff experience, but the Knicks, they made a playoff run last year. They knocked off the Celtics last year, which, so they're going in looking at us and saying like, oh, this will be easy. But I think there's also a side of the Knicks fan base that I can tell is like, great. Of course, Orlando couldn't have beaten the Celtics on Sunday, which would have pushed us up to the 5th seed. And, they would have gotten the Raptors. They want the Raptors because they beat the hell out of the Raptors.
This goes back to what I was saying a couple of weeks ago. It's looking like the Hawks are a playoff team that nobody wants to see. And I did say earlier, why are the Hawks always an underdog? Why is Atlanta sports always an underdog? I think you and I have seen firsthand experience for over 30 years now. There's a reason why we're always the underdog is because we always get close, and 9 times out of 10, we don't pull it off. We have 2 championships in this city, 3 if you count United, so we got 2 World Series and the United win. So I do see from an outside perspective, as far as ESPN and all these analytics go, like I do understand why you would count Atlanta out, because as much as it pains me to admit, historically, Atlanta does have a reputation of getting so close and still not getting it done. So, but I think in all honesty, this is not that team. And I'm not trying to get everybody's hopes up. I'm not saying, we're going to the finals, we're going to win. But to me, this just feels different because like I said, this doesn't seem like an easy win playoff team. And I think the Knicks and especially Knicks fans are going to go into the series underestimating us.
Without a doubt. And I hate that narrative of like, well, Atlanta's never won anything. It's like, what do you mean? Like, it's not like the franchise just stays the same for 50 years, man. Like, This is a completely different team than we had even at the beginning of the season. If you think about what the Hawks did this
That's
season,
a win right there.
And shout out to Onsi Saleh for going out and getting guys like Kuminga and moving off of Porzingis, who couldn't play, finding a way to get something for Trey. You didn't get any draft picks, but you did get CJ McCollum. You did have to take on Corey Kispert's contract, and that's kind of we'll deal with that in the future. But
once McCollum settled in, McCollum has proven to be a player. Like we might consider consider paying him and keeping him because he's been great.
I think we have to.
I think you need to hold on to CJ McCollum at this point. He's really proven all the doubters. I'll admit, if you go back a couple episodes, you go back 5 or 6 episodes, I was one of those doubters. I wasn't stoked about CJ McCollum in the beginning, and rightfully so, because it took him a while to settle in. But once he did, man, he's been great.
Yeah, he's bringing a lot to us. And also, I want to say, I kind of forgot how crazy and ridiculous and delusional this Knicks fan base is.
Tell me about it. Let me hear it.
Back in 2021, it was just, you remember the F. Trey Young chants and all that stuff. And then, after the game, after they won game 2, which, by the way, was the only game that they won in that series, they're all out in the streets. And, there's that Spider-Man guy going around interviewing people, and they're just saying F. Trey Young and saying, every nasty thing that they can say about him. Or they would chant Trey is balding and stuff like that. There's plenty of people on there that kind of around the New York media, and this isn't national media, but around the New York media, that are saying wild things
dude, shout out bad genetics and male pattern baldness.
Yeah, exactly. What are you gonna do? Luckily, you and I,
neither one of us have that problem.
No, we're good.
I
would take off my hat, show you guys, but yeah. Not saying that'll happen forever. We're both.
They make pills for that now, though. We're good.
That's right. So, but they're saying things like the Knicks have 8 out of the top 10 players in this series.
I'm not sure about that.
Are you kidding me?
I'm not sure about that.
Do you think? And they'll say crazy things like Mikal Bridges is better than Dyson Daniels.
What are you? I challenge you to go to your run-of-the-mill Knicks fans, the ones that are saying this, and tell them to name you 8 Knicks players, because I bet they can only name you 3.
Well, they're even saying stuff like that about us, or Hawks fans can't even name anything more than 5.
Have you met my buddy Jeremy Harlan?
Yeah, I was like, bro, yeah, I know the whole roster up and down, bro. I know a lot of the G League roster. And I'm not the only one. There's plenty of Hawks fans out there, man. And shout out to the fam on Atlanta Hawks Reddit. I love talking with you guys. Every time I drop something in there, there's tons of ball knowledge that comes in. Always a great discussion. Everybody's putting in something good. If somebody says something stupid, they get downvoted, which I also appreciate that. But no, Hawks have a good fan base that's tuned in. We're going to see some casuals pop up if the Hawks do anything in this first round. But as far as I'm concerned, man, I think this fan base is what we call true to Atlanta.
Absolutely.
But yeah, let's talk a little bit about some of the matchups that are going to happen with us. Let's go. Well, I want to go ahead and start with just Dyson Daniels has got to be on Jalen Brunson.
Okay. That's who I was going to mention, because everyone wants to talk about Robinson, and we'll get to Robinson in a minute. But
we will.
Everybody's so heavy on the Robinson conversation that they also forget you got Cat and you got Jalen Brunson, and you got to find formidable matchups for those guys. And I'm kind of wondering between Jalen and Dyson, who are you putting where? As far as the other guys, who we already know the situation with Robinson, it's going to go through Okongwu, it's going to go through Moge, it's going to go through Bradley. They're all going to have to figure out a way to shut him down. Right. But when it comes to Brunson and Towns, those are weapons that are kind of getting overlooked just because of how much you do have to worry about Robinson. But how would you place your matchups if you were to write this out? Yeah.
So, first of all, Dyson on Brunson.
Okay.
You could probably get away with Nikhil on Brunson a little bit, but you got to have Dyson. That's how you want to set it up. Have Dyson be on Brunson. As far as Karl Anthony Towns, that's going to be probably Onyeka or Jalen. I think that's kind of interchangeable. Same thing with OG Anunoby. Interchangeable. But the thing with Jalen is he's got to step up the physicality on defense. He's got to stay focused. Jalen's not a bad defender, but he's not necessarily a great one either. But you got to slow them down, and you got to really be disciplined with not fouling him. Karl Anthony Towns is very good
at the line.
You don't, not just that. Yes, he is great at the line, but getting the way that he's getting his fouls is basically, when he's got 2 hands on the ball and you're trying to reach over him, he's going to rip through you, which is a foul.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's very good at getting those.
Yeah.
So you got to stay disciplined, keep your hands out,
When you say you got to pull Okongwu to Karl Anthony Towns, does that mean you're comfortable with Okongwu and Jalen trading spots and having Jalen guard Robinson in those situations?
They probably won't do a whole lot of playing Robinson and Cat at the same time. So like I think Mitchell Robinson's going to be a lot of the bench's problem,
Okay.
and we're not going to come out there and just do a full bench lineup. Like we're going to have a tight, 8 to 10.
But hey, when the
rotation.
Hawks do a full bench lineup, you will see Buddy Hield be the star of the team. But if you see Buddy Hield take the floor in the playoffs, we are in trouble.
Yeah, exactly. We don't want to see that. But yes, shout out to Buddy for having a great game on Sunday. Yeah, against the Heat team that's trying to win.
Against the team that we lost by almost 30 points to because it was a game that didn't really matter. But in those games,
we punted that game.
But in those games, Buddy Hield lights out. Lights out, Buddy.
Yeah, man. Nah, man. And I think Buddy Hield is got to give him credit, man. Like I saw some video of him working with Risa Shea in the gym, just working on like catch and dribble. I think he's a really good mentor for this team.
Absolutely.
And he's the veteran guy that you want on the team, like especially for a run like this.
You were touching on this a couple of episodes back about how good he's been in the locker room and how even fans who know him and know his history, are rallying around him. He seems to be a really positive influence on these young guys that we have on our team.
Yeah, and it's like when you're making a playoff run like this and you have such a young team, it's like you do need a vet to come in there and calm everyone down. CJ's another one, but let's talk about CJ. Yeah, because like you gotta put him somewhere on defense, and he's pretty big, but he's not like, I mean, I say he's pretty big. He's not. I don't consider him big, but he's not a small guard. You could probably get away with putting him on Mikal Bridges. You know what I mean? So it's like, let's try and keep him there. They're going to do everything they can to switch him onto Brunson. You've got to stay on top of that. If they're switching Brunson onto somebody, it's switching to Nikhil. And then to Dyson. Like that's
also,
what we want to see.
Speaking of CJ, I know you've said that he is consistently closing, and you don't always want him to be out there to be the closer. But I have noticed in recent games, before we played the Heat, in a few games leading up to that, if you give him the right spacing, he's pretty dead on with mid range and 3-pointers. Like he's getting his shooting down really well. He's got an incredible jump shot. So, what do you think about trying to add him into the closing spot of the game, especially if it's a tight game?
Well, you certainly need his offense. You certainly need his offense. And I even had like, so yeah, I think at the end of the game, if you're down a little bit and it's not about just like stopping them from, catching up to a 6-point lead or a 5-point lead or something like that, then yeah, you need CJ. But I even was thinking like we could experiment maybe through the series. If it becomes a problem that CJ being on defense to start the game, start Kuminga in his place. Yeah. And just start bigger. Now, that changes your offense a little bit, and I don't really like Kuminga and Jalen playing at the same time. They kind of like, step on each other's toes a little bit as far as like what their roles got to be. But yeah, man, I think that we could float around some of these different things with the lineup. Again, I don't want to see Corey Kispert play at all in these playoffs.
Yeah.
If you have to go into the bench a little bit further, like you're probably going to see Gabe Vincent play some minutes, and I think that's a good thing.
Gabe's been fine, man. Gabe hasn't really done anything to upset me. Actually,
but let's give him like 8 minutes. Yeah, let's give him like 8 minutes a game. Let's give like Risa Shea maybe 8 minutes a game if we need him. Because I'm not necessarily like, hey, they have to play Risa Shea. If they play Risa Shea, then like we win. I'm more about like if they play Kispert instead of Risa Shea, I think that's a bad decision.
Right. Yeah.
But maybe you keep the rotation so tight that you don't need to do that. But you're also probably going to see some minutes out of Tony Bradley. If Jock Landale's not back, we still don't know. I think we'll hear about his evaluation on Thursday, and that could be a massive like series like game changer. If we have Jock Landale, then you have an answer.
Getting Jock Landale would solve a lot of problems
for Mitchell Robinson.
And this brings me up to my point, and you kind of segued into it when you started talking about free throws and how Karl Anthony Towns draws fouls. There's been a lot of chatter, a lot of things saying that a certain strategy would be considering. You might have a situation where it's Moge, you might have a situation where it's Bradley, you might have a situation where it's Okongwu. How do you stop, Mitchell Robinson? And we did some research before we started this episode, and now I'm starting to agree with it. Everyone has come to the same consensus. Well, you just gotta foul him. You just gotta make him shoot from the line. Well, right now,
if he's under the basket, you gotta hit.
Mitchell Robinson is shooting 40% free throws. So yes, absolutely, foul him, take him to the line. He is much more of a threat
And be careful who it is that's fouling him.
I mean,
if it's Mo Gay, do it.
Well,
if it's
that's
Tony
what
Bradley,
I was going to say too. You know, Tony Bradley will do it, and Mo Gay has that aggression. Mo Gay is going to go out there wanting to foul him, so it's fine. But yeah, I mean, use that to your advantage. Like, yeah, you would much rather see Mitchell Robinson at the line than right under the basket doing an easy layup because, dude, all he has to do is like stand on his tiptoes. He's going to dunk the ball.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, and against Mo Gay, it's like Mo Gay's a little too skinny to really like bang underneath like with Mitchell Robinson. Bradley's big enough, but I haven't seen enough of him yet. You know, like I didn't feel
and
like even on Sunday when he
I'm
played
not
more
trying
minutes.
to fearmonger.
Like
I know a lot of people are like tired of hearing about Mitchell Robinson. You got to understand for this past season, Mitchell Robinson is averaging 8.8 rebounds a game, but also he still holds the record for the highest single season field goal percentage in NBA history at 74.19. He set that record in 2019-2020 season, and it still has yet to be broken. So he is something to worry about. He is a game changer. So you have to absolutely be prepared for Mitchell Robinson.
Yeah, no, I think that he's certainly an X factor for the Knicks. Like, if they were to win this series, I think he's going to have a lot to do with it. I mean, I know everyone's talking about Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns, and their offense is great, but like Towns' defense isn't great. Brunson's defense isn't great. You know, but Mitchell Robinson's is. So it's about having that big body. If Jock is back, man, it'll be a huge sigh of relief. But we also can't expect that like Jock after 2 weeks dealing with a high ankle sprain is going to come back and play 100%.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So we don't really know like what percentage of Jock we're getting back. But Jock doesn't just, help you with Mitchell Robinson. It's like he can play offense too. Like not amazing, but like he can shoot the three. He can basically make it to where Robinson has to come out to the 3-point line and guard
which
him.
Was going to lead to my next point. Getting these players out. Because we talked about they are a free throw team when it comes to Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns, but we haven't touched on yet, which is something you and I talked about before this started, is the Knicks are kind of a slower pace half-court team. They want to keep this game at a half-court game. If the Hawks play more explosive, make them run, make it into a full-court game, the Hawks have a giant advantage, and I do see the Hawks taking this game and the series if they can play at a high level and make it a full-court battle the entire game.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right about that, man. It's if we start playing their game, it's not that we can't win that way. It's just that's not how the Hawks have been winning.
Game, and that's how they have been winning.
What you got to do is, if Jalen Brunson misses a shot and we come up with that rebound, you got to run. If the Hawks get running and we can play that transition game, we can score in transition. The Knicks aren't very good at getting back on defense when things like that happen. So they've got to stay very disciplined if they want to win this series. And if they want to win this series in less than 7 games, I would say like at least, like because we're fast. That's been our whole recipe since the All-Star break, and really through the whole
leaner team. And if you make it to where you have to keep up with them and gas out the Knicks, that should be a very formidable part of your strategy.
Exactly. If Dyson's coming down with a rebound because of something bouncing off the rim and Kuminga's running full speed down the court, good luck. I mean, and that's another thing is like we got to do our best to win the rebound battle.
Absolutely.
If you do that, that means you're probably scoring in transition. Don't fall into the trap of playing their game and playing slow and getting to that half court stuff. Like we really need to stay focused on running and defense has got to be the number one priority. It has to be. Like, we'll get the offense. Nikhil's, on fire right now. CJ, he's had some cold nights, I guess, like last week against like Cleveland. And also, he was, I don't know, he was good against the Knicks last Monday, right? He was. Remember this game. Had he let that ball go 1 millisecond earlier, that was going to overtime. So, the Knicks shouldn't be pounding their chest like thinking that they're gonna roll us, man. I'm just not. I'm not seeing.
But what did you see out of that game that you need to see this coming Saturday that you just didn't see? Because to me, it seems like we didn't play at our full potential until the game was almost out of reach, and then we woke up, we came to life, but then it was just too little, too late. I feel like there was an explosiveness we had in the second half of the game that we should have had the entire game, and we would have won.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. You definitely want to come out strong. But the game's not won in the first quarter or the second quarter or the third, So, but yeah, you don't want to be down 16, 18 points like to this Knicks team. But I do feel like and maybe I shouldn't really put this on the players, but at least like through the media, it seems like they're being told that, oh, you guys got this, there's no way like you guys lose in the first round. I don't know. Because I see this Hawks team going somewhere. I mean, and unfortunately, you got to play the Celtics in the second round if you get through this. But whoever beats the Celtics in the second round, if someone can beat the Celtics in the second round, hopefully us. I think that team's going to the finals.
We've fared decent with the Celtics. We've beaten them. We've lost to them. We've beaten them. We've lost to them. We've beaten them. I feel like, man.
Yeah, we split
in
the series.
In all honesty, I feel like a series with Boston, even though the fanfare isn't there the way I want it to, a series with Boston might be more exciting than a series with the Knicks, to be completely honest.
Yeah, it would be, but that one is scary. Yeah. The Knicks aren't as scary to me. Like I think that we match up pretty well. Not saying that the Knicks aren't a good team, and I'm not going in boasting that like we should be overconfident and we're going to go in there and win in 5. The goal is to win in 6.
Well, truth be told,
the goal is to win in Atlanta.
Truth be told, the main thing that bothers me about the Knicks is Jock Landale and Mitchell Robinson, not having Jock Landale and then having Mitchell Robinson. If we get through, by the time we play Boston, we've got Jock Landale, and I'm not as worried anymore.
Yeah, no, I agree. But Boston brings different challenges. They don't just have Jalen Brunson.
What do you think would be more intimidating?
They got Jason Tatum and Jalen Brown.
Would be more intimidating to play. And do you think the Garden or Boston? MSG, Madison Square Garden.
The
Garden and the other Garden.
I'd say probably Boston.
Yeah, I think Boston's scarier
because the Knicks fans, like, they're crazy and they're rabid, but like Celtics fans, they're used to this. Yeah, and they're used to this, man. Like they're there every year, and they love their championships. Yeah. Like they've gotten a couple in our lifetime.
Too many. Like New England as a whole, too many damn championships.
Right.
Not fair. Not fair.
No, but like I think Boston just being such a better team is scarier. But, I also wanted to say about the Knicks, I heard Brad Brolin say this today. It was I think Jalen Brunson averaged 29 points against the Hawks like this season in 3 games, but it was on like 50% true shooting, which is not good. No. So that's very inefficient scoring. That's a lot of missed shots when you do that. And then a lot of that is probably on free throws as well. So if he's going to shoot like that, 50% true shooting, I take that every day.
Too. Absolutely.
You want to give him fits like that. And I think a lot of like Knicks fans on Twitter that, because we're all saying like, oh, we're going to put Dyson on him. We're going to put Dyson on him. They're like, oh yeah, well he scored this much and Dyson was guarding him. It's like, yeah, but how many did he miss? Like if he's shooting 29 on getting 29 points on 50% true shooting, that means other guys aren't shooting the ball. Like, okay, he's shooting the ball and he's missing half of them. I will take that every time day. So you get 29 points on 30 shots, 30 to 35 shots. Like, come on.
Boys like Jalen and Dyson and everybody else, they're aware of what they're walking into. Like they are very much preparing themselves for this. And I do think, considering how young and how hungry they are and how much explosiveness they're capable of, we might come out here Saturday and see a Hawks team that we're not used to seeing because they're just going to be firing on all cylinders. And that's best case scenario, but that's kind of what I see happening.
Of course. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I would love to see that happen. The other thing is that you come out under the bright lights and you get scared.
That too.
Like we don't really know what to expect, but we did bring up like the playoff experience of some of these guys, some of the leaders on this team.
Which I'm so thankful to have because there is a lot of mentoring, there is a lot of calming down, there is a lot of like, hey man, it's just another, like there's a lot of talking through. You have a lot of the lucky thing for these young guys who have never been there is right now they're in a situation where they have a lot of peers who have been there that they can lean on.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I think like CJ McCollum is certainly like.
From what I heard, he's becoming a locker room leader. And I listened to an interview with him tonight as I was going out after I was heading home from the gym. He was on the radio, and man, he's just so composed. He's so mature. He just speaks like a leader, and I'm sure that translates into the locker room. So they're very lucky to have him going into this playoff situation.
Yeah, without a doubt, man. And I think young guys like Jalen need to kind of lean on him a little bit about what this experience is going to be like. And nothing's going to give you the experience until you have it. Like CJ can tell you everything that he knows and, but you gotta find out for yourself. And I think that we're going to find out what kind of player Jalen Johnson is in this series. Is he going to be able to step up? I mean, I don't expect him to be like the new villain of Madison Square Garden, like Trae Young. But, you know, I want to see, like, he's already probably one of the top 10 to 20 players probably outside top 10, but like 10 to 20 players like in the NBA as far as talent goes. But let's see it translate into something in the playoffs.
I absolutely agree with that.
You know,
he is.
Yeah. And you know, he could prove to be the best player in the series if he does it right. If he comes out and he takes it seriously and he really focuses and he can kind of, you know, be diligent on defense about not fouling and staying on guys and being physical and maybe even drawing a couple more fouls, man. Like Jalen doesn't really flop for fouls ever, but he probably could. Like he's big, man. And like, it takes a lot to stop him. And I think that he can kind of push through guys and get himself some extra shots. So let's see like what version of Jalen we get. You know, against the Cavs last week, like we saw probably one of his 3 worst games of the season.
Absolutely.
We don't want to see that this series. I don't think we will. Also, the fact that we punted that game on Sunday, that gives our guys an entire week of rest because they didn't play on Saturday. Then no one in the actual rotation played on Sunday, and they're not playing again until Saturday. So it's like you got to remember all these injuries that have kind of popped up over the last 6 weeks or, you know, like a month and a half. And, you know, they have a game off Dyson kept popping up with like that great toe sprain. Like when we would play a bad team, like he would sit and they would say like great toe sprain. And then you have like the knee injury management with Kuminga.
But also on those undisclosed, you know, just days of rest for Kuminga and shit too.
Yeah. So, and then you've also got like with Jalen Johnson, like there was something like, I forget what his injury was, but you got to remember that all those injuries are still there. So having a full week of rest and just going to practice and not having to like, and, you know, shooting around at practice and going over film and all that stuff, like, versus like playing in a game every 2 days, like it's going to mean a lot for them to come in rested.
Speaking of injuries, this is not Hawks related, but you see the Joel Embiid has appendicitis. His appendix ruptured.
Yeah,
wild,
dude. Yeah,
dude. He cannot stay healthy. He can't catch a break, dude.
Yeah, man. Like, and it's not even like it's not
at this point
NBA related, man.
It's
like that's
the
just
universe
bad luck.
playing a bad trick. Like, oh, you're fully healthy. You're about to go in the playoffs. Boom, your appendix is gonna bust, dude.
Yeah, man. That terrible timing for Joel. And I mean,
awful.
you know,
I don't care either way about the 76ers, moving on. But I hate to see that happen. Like it just sucks. It sucks seeing a dude who
completely out of his control.
It sucks seeing a dude who just can't catch a break because for the past like 4 seasons now, Joel Embiid is always hurt. And now he's finally 100% heading into the playoffs and his appendix burst. Like, dude, like what luck? That's awful.
Yeah, no, that's terrible. That's terrible. And, you know, there's another thing to keep in mind. Like in this playoff series, someone could get injured in game 1.
Somebody could have their appendix
for the Hawks or the Knicks. Someone could have their appendix bust. You know, like someone could. I mean, I don't know if you remember this, but the 2015 Hawks, the 60-win season that went to the Eastern Conference Finals, in the first series, probably our best perimeter defender, Thabo Sefolosha, ended up getting in trouble at a bar.
Oh yeah, I do remember.
The police broke his leg.
I do remember that
in New York.
Yeah.
When we were playing in
and
Brooklyn.
Not only that,
you never know what could happen.
You could accidentally step on a referee's foot. You know, you never know.
You could, absolutely.
But dude, I do remember that. I do remember the cops breaking his leg. It was like a big, it was a big like police brutality, like a big like tabloid thing. Like it was all over the place. I remember that, dude.
And I'm not saying that like the Hawks go to the finals that year if they had Thabo, but at least when you got to play Cleveland, like Thabo was going to try and guard LeBron James. Yeah, exactly. I mean, he was our best defender. So, you know, that was a thing. Anything could happen.
That was the Corver year with the we still had Al Horford, right? And Jeff Teague was doing amazing and everything. Yeah, I remember that.
Jeff Teague, Al Horford.
That was the threes.
Paul Millsap. Yep. And then we had Damari Carroll, the junkyard dog.
Mike Scott, emoji tattoos.
Mike Scott, Thabo Sefolosha, one of my favorite Hawks teams of all time. Probably like I've always loved the Hawks.
And that was like right after the Joe Johnson era, right? Like right after Joe Johnson.
Yep. This is right after that. This is when, Coach Mike Budenholzer took over.
Coach Bud. Before
this was his second season.
Before he went to the Bucks.
Before he went to the Bucks, but yeah, his second season with us. I've always loved the Hawks, but like that was the season that like really got me.
So that was the season that like reignited my love for the Hawks because like growing up as a kid, I hadn't really since because remember when we had like Mutombo and Mookie Blaylock and, Steve Smith, all those players, that's when I was really into it as a kid, and we had the big hawk on the jersey, and it just looked cool, and we were doing exciting things because we were getting Showtime name players that were still not playing at Showtime caliber, but it made what was Phillips Arena at the time very exciting. But like that team that we just mentioned, that like reignited my love for the Hawks, because my wife and I started dating around that time, and we would go to Hawks games on date nights, because this is back when Hawks games were still affordable. We were living in Atlanta, dude. At this time, you could get decent seats at a Hawks game.
I think playoff tickets. I think the cheapest Hawks playoff tickets right now are like $65.
Yeah. No, like this is back. You could get regular season tickets for like $25 at this time, and they were like good seats. So we'd go out there. We'd see Kyle Korver. We like fell in love with the Hawks. We started following the Hawks, and then when we went on to the playoffs, me and my cousin Jenny, we went to go see a playoff game when we played the Nets. It was the Kevin Garnett Nets. So it was awesome. I got to see KG in person. Ludacris played a halftime show. Like that era of the Hawks was very exciting, and that is much like you, what like reignited my love for the Hawks, and I've been stuck to it since then. So yeah,
man. And look, and we can probably wrap up the Hawks here in a second, but let's talk about predictions, man. I'm taking the Hawks in 6, and I think that it's important that they get it done in 6 and get it done at home, because if you go to 7 and you got the rabid Madison Square Garden fans out there, and you're not just fighting the Knicks at that point, you're fighting the refs too.
Yeah.
If they get a friendly call because they don't want to get booed out of Madison Square Garden, we don't want to be in that position. So you got to go up there and steal a game. Go ahead and steal a game up in New York, whether it's game 1 or it's game 2. You don't want to come home down 0-2 and then have the pressure be on at home. Like let's get one there and come home, relax, play our game, stay focused. I think the Hawks are good enough to win this series. I really do.
So you're saying Game 7 would be an MSG, right? And that's why I'm taking the Hawks in 6, because I don't see the Hawks winning a Game 7 in MSG. I don't see that scenario happen. If it gets to a point where we have to play,
if you do, you got to win by 15.
That's what I'm saying.
You know what I mean? If it gets to a
point where we have to play the Knicks in Game 7 at Madison Square Garden, I don't see it happening unless you just played lights out for 3.5 fucking quarters and you're up by 20 with 10 minutes left. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man. No, for sure. And I mean, and look, Hawks win or lose in this series, we accomplished our goal this year. Like everyone was asked at the beginning of the year, and now obviously half the team's not on here anymore that was here at the beginning of the year. But like the preseason interviews, like the first media day, everyone's kind of asking like, what is your expectation out of this season? They all said to avoid the play-in and have a playoff spot.
Exactly what we did.
They did that.
Yep.
And largely this was all, after the All-Star break. And also I want to put this to bed, the whole like, oh, all they did was play bad teams. It's like, well, actually, in the end, they had the 8th toughest strength of schedule of the entire NBA. Okay, so they played all of those games, and they won 46 out of 82. Like, I'll take that. I will definitely take that. And a lot of credit to Onsi Soleil, our GM. A lot of credit to Quinn Snyder for turning this around, and the new guys that came in and getting them to buy in, because it seems like we're playing Quinn Snyder basketball now. This is what it was supposed to look like the whole time. So no matter what happens, Hawks are in a great position for the future. You got an affordable roster. You've got draft picks coming up, and you got great young players, man, like Dyson and Jalen and Nikhil. Like we've got a core here that's worth building on. So let's see if we can get them to kind of grow together a little bit more. And if we see some playoff success this season, then the sky's the limit for these guys.
Absolutely.
In the future.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. So are we ready to talk about some baseball, Jeremy?
Yeah.
So talking about baseball, I cannot go into baseball without shouting out our Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, who are sitting at 15-3, sitting atop of the ACC, and they are currently on a 12-game winning streak. Shout out Georgia Tech. If you guys didn't know,
let's go Jackets.
We're Tech fans. Sorry, we are.
That's right.
Actually, no, not sorry. We're Tech fans, okay? So get over it. And we wear that proudly, because you can go get your UGA news anywhere else you want it. Here we talk about Tech, and Tech is
UGA. Wait, hold on. Nobody talks about UGA.
Why would they?
It's not.
Why would they?
Fall, man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Wait,
hey, you know the old
season,
saying.
So why talk about them?
Right. And I'm not trying to like clown on the Georgia fans because like, hey, you like Georgia? If Georgia's in a championship or something,
Yeah.
like I'll root
I'll
for the
also
home
say,
team.
if
But
you're
like, I've
listening to
never
this
been a big Georgia
podcast,
guy.
there's a high chance you're a UGA fan. And I will say,
Absolutely. And I want to scare you off.
And I will say, while I did just mention, Tech baseball, Georgia Tech is sitting pretty good in the SEC right now, so they're nothing to be worried about. I think it's actually like they're kind of neck and neck in overall standings. I think Tech is 2 and Georgia's 3 or something like that. They're like right next to each other.
Okay. Okay.
But
Well, typically the saying is, if the ball is round, Georgia's nowhere to be found.
Oh, well, dude, the unfortunate thing is, like, my entire life, and I've said this on this podcast before, my entire life, the year I was born, Georgia Tech won the national championship. We had to share it with Colorado, but we can claim that. But my entire life, Tech has not been a good football team. We've had good players, but we have not had a good team. We've been getting better. These past couple of years have been okay. They've been something to be proud of. But I've always
last year still ended in a little.
Yeah, it was awful.
Yeah.
How do you win 11 in a row and just bomb the way they did? But anyways, but I've always been able to count on, like, I used to always be able to argue, like, nah, dude, Tech is a baseball and basketball school. We're not a football school. Well, our basketball team did not play like a basketball school this past year. It was not good. It was ungodly. But I can say, hey, we're a baseball school. Look at this.
But Tech in basketball needs to kind of lean on the Atlanta lore a little bit and kind of get some of these big entertainers to work with Georgia Tech and especially now that you've got NIL and all that stuff.
Well, back in the day when you had guys
and lean on some of the business owners,
we didn't need it back then, but now use it to your advantage.
But think about it. Like, if you're a top high school recruit and you want to go to college, why can't you sell Atlanta to them?
Yeah, and I mean,
isn't this where you want to be?
Georgia Tech basketball is semi-prestigious. We do have ACC championships. Like, we've been the team before. Yeah. We've done the damn thing, you know? Right. We just haven't done it in the past 2 years. But that's besides the point. But anyways, moving on to the Braves. The Braves do lead the National League East right now. They're sitting at 11-7 because, as we are speaking, they just beat the Marlins. They beat the Marlins 5-6. So close game, but a win's a win. However, last night, they did not beat the Marlins. They lost to the Marlins. What was the score? Oh, it was 10-4. But before I mention that, I do want to mention that currently, right now, the Braves are the only team in baseball that have not lost a series. They have split a series with Arizona, but they have not lost a series, which is kind of how you end up being in first place, even after you play a 13 games in a row. So we got to talk about Grant Holmes. So Grant Holmes is kind of the piece that made the towers tumble last night against the Marlins.
His first bad spot.
It was his first bad spot. He's been doing well all season, and it didn't really happen until he got into the fifth inning where everything kind of fell apart. So they had to pull him from the game. And when they talked to Walt Weiss, he was quoted as saying he knew he was going to have to give him a short lease. He was said not necessarily that short. He was expecting him to go until at least the sixth inning, but he said because of the last outing in Anaheim, he just gave it all he had. Like he poured out all the gas in the tank he had in Anaheim to pull off that win. He said it has much to do with that as anything. He assured us that Holmes' elbow was fine. If you don't remember, Holmes was rehabbing a partially torn UCL. So that's something you don't want to let him throw too many pitches. And when he gets up to, the 99 pitch mark and stuff like that, you got to be worried. I think he was actually sitting at like 59, but still. Overall, the past 2 games, you don't want to overwork that because the last thing we need right now is more problems in the pitching front. But I will say, even with the problems we thought we were going to have going into the season, the Braves have it's weird to say the Braves have proved everybody wrong already because we're dealing with what we have to deal with. The pitching has not been that bad. Chris Sale's been great. Grant Holmes has been great. Lopez is doing his thing, even though
Bryce Elder
is one of those guys, what you're going to get. And we still haven't gotten the bad side of Bryce Elder yet. So we actually have something to be very excited about. Spencer Strider, he begins his rehab on the 16th, and he's expected to come back sometime in May. You still got Sean Murphy looking forward to come back. You still got I
think he's at Gwinnett right now.
You still got Kim, who's recovering from the finger. I feel like this team's only going to get better. And unfortunately, there may be games where we do have to do what we said we were going to do at the beginning of the season, and that's we got to heavily rely on the offense to get us these wins. But it seems like we can easily do that. So I don't think that's anything to deter us. But long story short, if you're a Braves fan, keep on chopping on. Like, we got a lot of games left, and I feel like this is something that is going to prove a lot of guys wrong. I think we are not going to be the team that people expected us to be. I don't think we're going to have the bullpen problems that everyone thought we were. But the thing is, we have crisis management ready. We have guys in Gwinnett who are ready. We have people we can trade out. We have people we can call up. You know, we're taking care of our bullpen, and our offense is humming. Our offense is putting us in a position where we can keep winning these games.
Ronnie got his first homer this week.
I did want to say, I don't know what the Dodgers did tonight, but what the Braves needed to happen tonight was to score 6 runs to be the first team in the MLB this season to reach 100 runs. Sorry. But they did that. So now, but I don't know, because the Dodgers only needed 5 tonight to be the first to 100. So I don't know if the Braves got it first or if the Dodgers got it first. But anyways, if you look at the numbers, we already have 100 runs in 15 games, 100 runs. Look at that.
Yeah.
Look at that.
And we made it through that 13 game stretch that we were talking about, how tough that was.
And it wasn't as bad as we thought it was going to be.
No, we came out with a winning record. That's exactly what we wanted. We talked about already on this podcast. Last year, we were never 2 games over 500, and that horrible start that we had, starting 0-7. So
last
far, this has
season
been great.
Brutal, man.
This is way.
It was just so bad.
But we set our expectations a lot lower this year, especially like as spring training went on. Like, we kept lowering and lowering and lowering the expectations.
Well, because, dude,
but like being in first at this point,
we were.
Yeah, and it's like if we can get to the end of April, like still in first, I'll feel good. And I always feel good when the Mets are in last.
Yeah,
which is amazing.
I do want to say this. You know, we are hitting kind of a hump against the Marlins right now. The Marlins,
they're right behind us.
The Marlins, the past couple of years, have been a team that you don't start hearing about until it's too late, and then you're like, oh my God, the Marlins are a really good team, and it's like, yeah, they've been a good team all season. You just weren't paying attention, and I feel like right now we're getting our early precursor of that the Marlins are a really good team.
Yeah, no, I agree, man. And it's like, and the Marlins, like, it's almost like a every other year thing with them. Like over the last 10 years, it's been, like, oh, the Marlins are, bottom feeders. And then next thing you know, it's like, oh, the Marlins are, the hot team that you got to keep off
and
of
then
you
next
if you want to
thing
win this
the
division.
Marlins are first in the National League East. And it's like, oh, where did that come from?
Yeah, exactly. So I think the Marlins, like, and it's still too early to tell what anyone's going to be like, including the Braves. Philly's still going to go on a tear. But then, the Mets, like, I make fun of them, but the Mets are probably going to do something. I don't think they're going to do enough to win the division. I just never believe in the Mets. The Braves are doing everything they're supposed to do.
This year is the Mets year. I really don't.
I don't either. But also, I want to say, someone brought up like the post, like the Twitter post of when the Braves signed Walt Weiss to be the manager. And they were like, read these comments. And it's like, everyone's just like, no, this is terrible. Like, we're not going to win anything. Like, so-and-so was right there. Why didn't you go get him?
That Walt Weiss has been a coach for the Braves for the past, 5 years. Like, he's
right,
already
but he hadn't been the head man.
I know he hasn't been the head man, but he already has a rapport with these guys. He already has a relationship with these guys. You think that Snitker hasn't been talking in his ear the past 5 years, like, kind of teaching him the dance?
Well, I think, of course. But, like, I think my feeling at the time was that Walt Weiss was going to be like Snitker. And it's like, we need to change.
We needed to evolve the game a little bit. You're right. Absolutely.
But look, he's completely different than Snitker.
But I'll also tell you,
he's extremely aggressive, and it's working.
It's hard for me because I'm one of those old school guys. Like, when I see people be like, "Oh, we got to evolve from Snitker." Well, Snitker won us a World Series, so how far do we need to evolve from that?
He did, and I love Snit. Love Snit. But at the same time, it's like, I love that Walt Weiss is this aggressive.
Yes, absolutely.
I really do.
I don't think it's
paying dividends.
Open field tackle, Jorge Soler. I don't think that could happen.
That would be so funny. Like, that'd be way funnier. But yes, Walt Weiss.
If Brian
Bill Goldberg
tackled me to the ground, I would retire. Yeah. I would retire if Snitker tackled me to the ground.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Especially, dude, Jorge Soler. Yeah. Like, he didn't tackle Ozzy Albies. He tackled Jorge Soler.
Ozzy Albies is our size. Oh man, the cat's out of the bag. We're not 6'10". Sorry, guys. But if you do,
in a couple episodes,
if you do want an actual size comparison, Jeremy and I are literally the size of Ozzy Albies, like almost exactly.
Right.
Which is crazy to think. I might be a little closer to Jose Altuve than Ozzy Albies.
Yeah, I'm more like Ozzy Albies, but yeah. Jose Altuve. Yeah, you're more.
Yeah,
like
I'm an
him.
Altuve.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I will say there are some key elements going on right now that's a little weird. I love this as a baseball purist. These things don't bother me, but the statisticians and the critics, it really seems to bother them. Where you have situations where Acuna is only batting 248 and only has one home run. Well, I don't care because defensively he's been a monster. And if I can have somebody who can play their position and let their bat get a little cold, as long as it's not costing us games, I really don't care. You know, I want you to go out there and do what you have to do to win the game. And if that means you got to be lights out on defense and your bat stays a little cold, cool. I know you'll get a run when it counts. But for now, go out there and play defense. And he's doing a stellar job of that.
I don't think that anybody in the world thinks that, and I understand that Ronald has had a slow start to the season.
Probably because his country just won the world championship. You know, just saying.
Yeah, and it's what they call the World Baseball Classic curse. It's like everybody that was doing well in the World Baseball Classic, like they're not starting the season.
That is true.
But like nobody in the world thinks that Ronald Acuna is not going to go on a tear.
It'll happen.
Nobody thinks that. As long as he's healthy, man, like he's going to put up Ronnie numbers.
Wait till June and July. All you're going to be hearing is Ronald Acuna.
Yeah, absolutely, and we'll get back to him. First pitch of the game. Starting us off with one run on the board.
Yeah.
I guarantee it. That's just who he is. That's what he does. He's a real 5-tool guy. That's not going away.
Also, man, I'm telling you right now, we got to find a way to re-sign Ozzy because I cannot bear to lose Ozzy Albies, dude.
I think we will. I think we will. I think he wants to be here. I think Alex Anthopoulos, he's going to find a way. He's kind of notoriously tight with the money. And I wish he wouldn't be sometimes. And I think the Braves could be in a better position a lot of these years, like if he
because
would. But sometimes he proves me wrong.
I will tell you, it's a very noble thing when players kind of Chipper Jones it and are like, oh yeah, you can underpay me. It's for the better of the team and blah, blah, blah. And while that's all great and good, like we're in a whole different generation where you got to play these guys to keep them because you think that like the Yankees or the Mets or the Dodgers aren't going to come calling Ozzy Albies and offer him more money. Like they will. He's that good of a player. He truly is.
They will. And it's up to him, and I think in that situation, it's up to him. Like we'll certainly offer him a contract, but yes, you're right. Like places like LA and New York, like we'll offer him more money without a doubt. So if to him, it's to go make more money. And remember, he did not sign a crazy contract.
No, it was a pretty low contract.
I want to say it was like $44 million or something.
Okay.
Over like 6 years.
That's a lot of money, but we're talking baseball right now. Baseball has...
But Ronald did the same thing. He signed for like an 8-year contract for like $100 million or something.
Yeah, when people hear those numbers...
This is back when I first met you. Because I remember I was working on
we were talking about this.
Yep. Like when they signed both of them.
It's so bizarre to me when people hear... football numbers, they're like, oh, those numbers are catastrophic. It's like, have you ever heard of baseball contracts? Like your average baseball contract blows any football contract out of the water, just about all of them. Like
Bobby Bonilla.
I don't understand where baseball gets all their money from, but like
and baseball money's all guaranteed.
When you get a $40 million contract in the NFL, you're that dude. Like you're one of the all-stars. But when you get a $40 million contract in baseball, it's almost run of the mill, which is kind of sad,
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and for like a young star, like I remember there was a lot of people giving them a lot of shit, like for Ronald and Ozzy, be like, "Yo, you're setting the market now, and like you guys are so good that you should have negotiated for more money." But the main thing is that they wanted to be here, and they wanted to play together, and we gotta hope that they continue to be that way. Now Ronald could go. I think his contract is up in 2028 or something.
I think it's 2028.
Yeah,
but
like
Ozzy is at the end of this season.
Tons of money.
But you know what?
Yeah, but Ozzy's is this season.
But you know what? You just said that like Ozzy and Ronald wanted to play together and they wanted to be here. That speaks on something so much deeper. And it's something that you and I share, Jeremy, and that is the value of friendship.
That's right. That's right. Guys, if you learned anything from this podcast, it should be the value of friendship.
Absolutely.
How long have you and I been friends? Since what, 2019?
2019. So we're going on 7 years. Yep.
We're probably almost right at 7 years because we were working on that set like in like May or June.
It was May of 2019. I'll never forget it. It was May of 2019.
And I met you like right around. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
To this day, it was the most exhausting month of my entire life. My entire life. We won't get into that on this podcast, but just know that like I probably lost a solid 15 pounds in a 34-month period because we were working in a 100-degree field and I was carrying buckets of concrete all day. So there you go.
Yep. There you go. There you go. We were out there sweating, baby.
It was awful.
Doing man's work.
But moving on, we're going to wrap up our segment. Actually, no, I did want to say, once again, you mentioned that we had a comment that was, giving us our flowers for shouting out Angel Reese. I want to shout out Angel Reese again.
Yeah.
Angel Reese, first of all, I'm so glad you're here. And I also want to shout out the Atlanta Dream for doing something that I've said Atlanta sports teams should do for so long. I talk about me and Jeremy text outside of this podcast all the time. I talk to him every day of my life. Mm-hmm. And I've said this to him several times. I wish Atlanta sports teams would sign superstar players before they're done with their prime. The Atlanta Dream are one of the few times I can remember an Atlanta sports team signing a superstar caliber player while they are still in their prime. And I'm so proud of them for doing that. You can argue with me. You can mention the Falcons because I think the only time I've ever seen another Atlanta sports team do this is when the Falcons signed Tony Gonzalez. We got to experience prime Tony Gonzalez in his best playing years here in the Atlanta Falcons. Unfortunately, we didn't give him a ring. But the thing is, I'm not talking about drafting a superstar. I'm talking about a free agent signing or a trade for a superstar. And you can mention Mutombo. You can mention Maluka Black. We didn't get them in their prime. You can say Todd Gurley. That wasn't in his prime. You can say these players that were once superstars, but we didn't get them when they were playing at superstar caliber play. We got Angel Reese while she was a superstar.
Yeah. I was going to say Josh Donaldson, but still, that was like he had already had the MVP and he never got another one again. But
that's what I'm saying.
When we got him off of an injury, and I was very excited about that. And he had a hell of a season.
Josh Donaldson was great.
The 1 year that he was
Josh Donaldson was great. I mean,
but Angel Reese, you're right. She's really like, she's the one that you went and got like, and
in her prime.
They spent a lot on her. Like, dude, 2 first-round picks.
And
like,
now.
That's a big deal.
Has Atlanta had superstar players? Yeah, we've had Dominique. We've had Matt Ryan. We've had Michael Vick. We've had Roddy White. We've had superstars, but we drafted them. But we also got rid of plenty of superstars. We got rid of Brett Favre. You know what I'm saying? Like
we did. Yeah. Yeah.
So I just want to shout out the Atlanta Dream, and I want you guys to know that when the WNBA is in full effect, A-Town Rundown will be your go-to listening spot for all the Atlanta Dream news that you can get your hands on. Shout out to Angel Reese. Shout out to the Atlanta Dream. Thank you guys for doing that. You're bringing great things to Atlanta. We can't thank you enough. So moving forward, let's end this segment, or let's end this podcast episode talking about the Atlanta Falcons. The only news that we really have going on with them is the looming draft. Now, there are things we need to get in this draft. I personally think we need a linebacker because you got to plug the Caden Ellis hole. You got to worry about defensive tackle because Onyemata's gone now. And you also got to kind of round out the wide receiving room that we have now. I know that we signed Zacchaeus. I feel like Zacchaeus is somebody who's got a pretty good rapport with Matt Ryan. That probably helped him get there. And I'm not saying he's a scrub or anything, but he's an older guy. We still need somebody who can match up and, be a playmaker along with Drake London, along with Kyle Pitts. I don't know if Austin Hooper still got it because we don't have rookie Austin Hooper anymore. Now we've got 30-year-old Austin Hooper. And I'm not saying he's not capable. I'm just saying we still need an elite level wide receiver, as well as a linebacker, as well as defensive tackle. You were even saying we might need to plug some holes in the offensive line. So the draft is something that it's weird because we don't pick until round 2 and we're pick 48. But I will say, as far as the NFL goes, if you're picked within the first 2 rounds, you should intend to be a starter. If you're round 1, round 2 pick, you should be intending on being a starter. And that's why I think we should still target a wide receiver with pick 48 in the draft. And I'm hoping there's this guy. I saw Steve Smith talking about him. But before I get there, I just want to say, as far as Ian Cunningham goes, you don't need to be surprised if the Falcons find a way to trade down or even trade a player for more picks. Ian Cunningham has been very clear about his affinity for more selections. He noted that the Bears went from 5 picks to 10 in his first year working for Chicago, and Atlanta's offseason has not been meat and potatoes. It built depth and elevated the team's floor with an eye toward future flexibility. Expect more of that strategy. That is a quote I got online from Sports Illustrated. I did not write that.
Nice. Okay.
But I quoted that to say that like everything that was just quoted right there.
State your sources.
Yeah, everything. Hey, if I get it from somewhere, I'm going to tell you. But I read that and I made a mental note like, hey, I need to say this online because everything's true. And I'm kind of hoping that does happen.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, and that wouldn't surprise me one bit. Ian Cunningham has also told us that like this is the last time we're not going to have a first round pick. I think he's going to really value the draft as being our GM. I brought up earlier before we started the show that like offensive line is something that we need to look at. You know, I know I don't remember if we talked about this last week, but Caleb McGarry surprise retirement last week.
I don't think we did.
Retiring at 31.
We may have mentioned it, but yeah, that came
that's
out
a big
of nowhere.
deal.
Yeah.
Now that opens up cap space for us. Like that's like $12 million that we saved.
Now with that, do you
because
think
he basically voids that extension that he just signed.
But do you think instead of drafting, do you think offensive line is somebody you try to trade for or grab in free agency instead of targeting?
Well, we did. So we picked up Jawan Taylor from the Kansas City Chiefs.
Oh yeah,
he was kind of part of that.
Sorry, I completely forgot about that.
Yeah, but he's he was kind of part of. If you remember the Chiefs in the Super Bowl 2 years ago, and like their offensive line was just a revolving door. Right. He was part of that.
I remember.
And
that's what they were pointing out.
That was a big reason why they got their ass whooped in that.
It was either Sports Center or 92.9 that I was listening to, but I remember them talking about that, and they basically said exactly what you just said right there, saying that's where the system he came from. So yes, I do remember that.
And I know a couple Chiefs fans in my personal life that come up to the bar all the time, and they were basically telling me like this guy has an issue with penalties. Mm-hmm. He jumps before the snap way too much. So I need to look up the actual numbers. Like I don't want to like, say something that's way worse than what he actually is. Like just give him some respect. But hopefully that's something that he can clean up. Is that an answer for you, or is he going to be a depth piece? When Caleb McGarry, when the news came out that he was retiring, I mean within 2 hours, it popped up that we got Jawan Taylor. So it's like Ian Cunningham immediately got on the phone and got somebody. Yeah. So I think somewhere in the draft you should definitely explore that. If there's a good one there, go ahead and get you one, a young offensive lineman who can come in and he doesn't have to be Jake Matthews, but you cultivate him, and hopefully you've got somebody to fill that hole for like the next 5 to 6 years. Because Jawan Taylor, I don't think is going to be that. I agree with you. Like we definitely need a little more depth in the wide receiver.
Wide receiver is my main concern. Like that's where I'm at. And there's this guy, Steve Smith, legendary wide receiver for the Ravens and for the Carolina Panthers, was speaking about this guy, Zachariah Branch, who you may know if you're a UGA fan, or you may not know because according to him,
if you're a college,
they used him in a pathetic fashion. They said, Steve Smith said that you never really got to see his full potential. And to quote him, he said that he loves his game when you just get the ball in his hands. I just wish that Georgia would have given him some different routes to display his versatility. Smith added that he thinks that UGA did him a disservice. So according to Smith, he sees a lot of promise in this guy, and he says that UGA didn't give you a clear picture of who this kid could be. And I think if this kid is still sitting there at 48, you take him if you're the Atlanta Falcons.
You probably will. If he drops that far, like you probably will. And I say drop, but I think what Steve Smith is saying is like his actual value is better than what he's saying on these draft boards. And maybe he's right. Like he could be the steal of the draft.
I mean, if Steve Smith,
if you get someone like that,
Steve Smith was so.
I trust.
Steve Smith
him.
was so good. He won a Triple Crown while he was playing for the Panthers, dude. Like, come on.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, Steve Smith's the man. But he always seems to be clowning on the Falcons.
That's true.
But yeah, I agree. I agree though.
He's a Panther. What can you do?
Yeah. I mean, I remember like he famously, when Desmond Ridder was going to be like our starter after the Marcus Mariota year, and he was like, they were showing like the Falcons defensive guys like making it like all these interceptions at training camp, and he's like, show who's throwing that ball, and it was Desmond Ridder.
Mm-hmm.
And lo and behold, what did we see that season?
Yep.
Terrible quarterback play.
Yep.
So he was right.
We still have to talk about that. Like, can't we just like act like that didn't happen?
I don't want to. We don't have to keep going back to the dark days.
Now you have to consider this too. There's a thing that like best case scenario, both Penix and Tua play so well, and you restructure a contract with Tua and pay him more money to keep him, and we don't have to worry about. But what if you're in a situation where you have to draft a quarterback at 48 because you don't like what you've seen from them so far, or you don't know what you're getting yourself into? Like, this is another thing you have to consider,
No way.
No,
they're committed to Tua and Penix being QB1 and QB2, like whichever that ends up being. I tend to think that Tua's probably penciled in already as the starter.
I think he is too. I think it's very safe to say.
I do think that's yeah, and I think that's a safer like idea. Tua just has proven to be better than Penix so far. He's had more success in the NFL so far.
Even Tua's worst performance in Miami was still kind of on par with Penix, to be completely honest. Like,
that's kind of what I mean.
It's
like,
just true. And in all honesty, I think Penix should kind of take this as a blessing in disguise. I think Penix should kind of take a back seat, let his pride down, and be like, all right, dude, Tua's going to start. I'm going to rehab all these injuries I have for my entire career, and I'm going to learn how to actually play. I'm going to learn how to play under center. And then if Tua can't stay here, or if Tua, craps the bed, then I'll take over, but I'll do it the right way instead of trying to go out here and compete for an opening spot when you're a banged up guy who doesn't know how to play under center. That's just my opinion.
No, I'm totally with you, man. I have a feeling that Tua is going to be the guy this year. And whether that's good, that's bad. Like, maybe we see Michael Penix play this year, but I'm like, as this offseason goes on, it's like, and the more I think about it, it's just, they went and got him for a reason. You know what I mean? Yeah. And they got him for the nicest price that you could ever do.
$1 million.
Yeah, $1 million. But yeah, no, I think also in the draft, like, I agree with you. We do need linebacker. I've always said, like, linebacker is a position you don't want to overpay for. So if you can get a young guy who's going to come in and be a stud, and Jeff Ulbrich has a way of making these guys into good players. I think you could find that. Defensive tackle, I agree. I think working in the trenches on either the offensive side or the defensive side would be a good idea. And you also got to think about, how do you replace these sacks that are going to be gone from James Pierce not playing for however long he doesn't play, or if he plays at all, So, and I don't mean you go out and get a guy who's going to give you 10 sacks a year. Like that, of course, that'd be amazing. But I'm talking like second, third, fourth rounds, like, or I don't even know if we have a fourth rounder, but like in those first 3 picks that you have, like, if you can find somebody that can come in and add, sacks by committee, that can get you 3 or 4 sacks next year, like, you go get them,
Absolutely. So I think we're on the same page with that. That's all I got to say.
And next week we'll really be talking draft.
I'm going to
have a lot of draft talk.
And stay tuned. Get ready, because May 3rd, we're going to have a Dream versus Mystics preseason game that we can talk about.
Nice. Yeah, and we are going to stay committed to
we will
Atlanta Dream this year.
Will.
If you think that, like, when NBA ends, that I'm going to stop watching hoops, no. when we got a squad here, we got a women's squad here.
I told you that I've been sucked into NBA 2K26, especially because of the playoffs.
Oh, yeah.
Guess what I was doing today, though? Guess who I was playing as in 2K26? I was playing as the Atlanta Dream, and guess what I did? I beat the New York Liberty by 20 points, all because of Angel Reese and Canada and everybody else on the team.
There we go. Love it.
Exactly.
Love it. Shout out to
Alicia Gray. I haven't seen much of her in real life.
Ryan Howard.
Alicia Gray.
She's awesome.
Alicia Gray in 2K26. Spot on, dude. Ryan Howard.
Nice.
Spot on. Brianna Jones. Nice. Spot on. Like, I mean,
we got a squad.
As far as video game basketball goes, I was having the time of my life playing as them. So I can't wait to see
I think that's
going to
translate to real basketall, man.
And exactly. You and I will go out to College Park. We'll watch them play. I know they got some State Farm games this year. They got some State Farm games this season too. But dude, I'll go out and you know what? It's going to be great. It's going to be a full circle, beautiful moment to take my 2 daughters to a WNBA game and just show them live and in color, like, hey, girls do this too. So if this is something you want to do, chase it, go for it.
Absolutely.
Can't wait for that. It's going to be beautiful. But other than that,
and they're both going to be 6'8" like us.
Yeah, exactly, dude. Maybe even taller.
Yeah,
maybe even taller.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
But other than that, guys, take care of yourself. A-Town Rundown. Find us on YouTube. Find us on Spotify. Find us on Apple. Anywhere you listen to podcasts, you can find us. If you want to watch us, just watch us on YouTube. We're on X. Our Jeremy is on X.
And I'm posting constantly, man. Come on there and talk with me.
Yes.
Let's clown on some Knicks fans.
Yes.
Let's have some fun this week as we get ready for the playoffs. And then throughout the playoffs, like when I can catch a full game live, like I'm going to be live tweeting the game.
Absolutely.
Get in there with me.
Yes.
Let's hang out. Let's have some fun.
We're on X. We're on Instagram. We are very active in Reddit. We are even going to start our own subreddit. The only thing we don't have is a Facebook because I don't see the point of it. Do you? Nah,
No,
me
no,
either.
no,
Me either. But
no.
if you want to talk to us, just send us a comment. Talk to Jeremy on Reddit. Talk to Jeremy on X. He fully takes on this social media. He has made it a part of himself. I got 3 kids. I can't really dedicate myself to it as much as he does, but he does a beautiful job. I can't thank him enough. We love your engagement.
Appreciate it, brother.
Send us comments. Let us know what you think about us. Positive or negative, we don't care. Let's talk about it. Other than that, you guys take care of yourself. You guys check out Sunmancer, Jeremy's band. There's
big show announcement coming
there's
soon.
a big show announcement that we cannot announce yet, but we will announce it very soon.
I was like, don't say
We'll
it.
announce
Yeah,
it very soon. But yeah, check out Sunmancer. Jeremy plays guitar in that band. Other than that, man, I'm Joey. He's Jeremy. We're A-Town Rundown. Take care of yourself. We'll talk to you guys next week.